I don't want somebody to take me to Applebee's with a coupon.
The Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast with Sam and Leah, helping you not just survive, but thrive.
Good morning, you guys. How is everybody? We are here live talking to you guys about the hoe phase of divorce. And if you're watching this on a podcast, please let us know if you hit this phase as we dive in to all the nitty-gritty details about the hoe phase.
I love this topic. And the reason this was kind of like on our mind is because recently it was a group coaching client, right? That was kind of playing around with this, like, you know, flirting with this idea. But she was feeling guilty about it. Like she was feeling like she didn't know even how to process it. And so this is something that I think a lot of women go through. And I say, go for it. Like I am all for it. That is part of that exploration, like
rite of passage
and discover and like to do your thing. But here's the caveat is you really have to be real with yourself and understand the kind of person you are. I am not somebody personally who would probably be able to do something like that because I fall in love with everybody. Like I can't just emotionally not attach to someone and just kind of go and like sleep around and stuff. I would I'm just not programmed that way. So I know that would not work out well for me if my goal is to try to, be by myself for a little while. But not everybody is like that. Like some people just want to scratch that itch and do their thing and know that they have the ability to do that without getting attached. And then I say, go for it.
I'm a go for it with a safety precaution. Like, I think the hoe phase in, early 2000s when I was getting divorced was even when it just started to be a little bit sketch, back in the 1990s, 1980s, hoe phase was probably very easy and less risk. I'm just a little bit of like, I don't know, maybe it's just showing my age of like, just be careful with the hoe phase in the 2020s, like, and not just like, STDs, which are just rampant right now. But, pregnancy, that's minimal. You know how to prevent that. But the STDs and just like, you don't know what situation you're walking into when you meet somebody. Like, you don't know if there's going to be 5 people there. You don't know if there's going to be 2 people there. You don't know, is this person going to say, and I'm not saying the hoe phase needs to be one night stands, but like, just dating around, mixing, mingling, getting your rocks off a couple times. But I'm just more of like be a little careful because I'm with you.
Yeah. Like don't meet somebody on an app and then show up at their house. Like,
like safety first. Always tell your girlfriends where you're at, what you're doing, hey, this is what I'm wearing. Hey, this is the cab driver, whatever. We're meeting at this bar. We're meeting and doing this. Because it's just
I used to tell friends, like when I was going out on dates, I'd be like, okay, here's where I'm going. I'm going to text you when I'm leaving, like just so that they would know if they don't hear back from me, like something's up.
And I think there's different phases of hoe phase. Like hoe phase doesn't have to be you going and having sex with someone. Hoe phase could be you diving into apps and just flirting like crazy and, doing that.
Flirt 10 guys at a time.
10 guys at a time. Like you owe nobody anything, And I think that needs to be talked about. It doesn't have to be sex to be a hoe phase. It could just be overly putting yourself out there to multiple people at a time, meeting and dating people. I had this girlfriend that I taught with, and she was a serial dater. Okay. Like she wanted to be married and she knew the only way to do that was to date a lot. And so, game. Dude, she was doing lunch dates. She was doing dinner dates in the same day. She'd do a breakfast date on a weekend and she's doing a lunch date by noon.
I love that. I had a friend that did that too. She's
all
like,
about it.
On Tuesday, I'm seeing him on Wednesday. I'm seeing this guy on Thursday.
And I don't know that I would call that a hoe phase. I would call that just like literally just testing the waters everywhere. Now, I think the difference when you say hoe phase, it's like you are maybe sleeping around a little bit, with 1 or 2 people, and you don't want that relationship. Like you just don't want it. You're just like, hey, I want to just have the lust, the sexual tension, get my rocks off and see you later.
Or even just sleeping with more than one person at the same time. Maybe you're sleeping with 2 dudes for months, right? Or 3 or women. I mean, whatever you want to do. So it's like maybe just not that monogamy, and just kind of being free and dating who you want and doing what you want, not necessarily like, high numbers.
I think it would be interesting to, if I'm 45 and I separate, I don't know that I would necessarily, I don't think I'd jump into apps, but I don't think I'd be tied into just men. I think I would definitely, the more and more clients I get that are that we're married and now, you know, are with women, I totally get it. I totally get the companionship, the fact that this woman can like sense what you need. You don't have to explain yourself. Like, I totally think if Jared and I don't work out, I'm totally into women. Like,
they definitely understand you on a completely different
mm-hmm.
level. That's true. There's pros and cons to both. I've done both. Yeah. After my first divorce, I was with a woman for like 2 years. We lived together. Right. So, I mean, I definitely got to experience both. And there's pros and cons to both. I think also, like I remember when I was dating a woman, sometimes I was just like, I don't want to talk. Like women always want to like talk about it. Like whenever there's a problem or whatever, you know, I would just be like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, you know, and so, yeah, but I agree with you. I feel like if that was something, cause I was kind of a late bloomer. Like I in retrospect, I knew that I was bisexual a long time before I actually acted on it. Right. But I think later in life, like this is something I see often is that women who maybe were just in relationships with men their whole life or married for a really long time and then they get divorced, it's like, well, now I kind of want to explore. Like I want to explore those parts of myself that I haven't really honored all of this time, and just kind of even if you're just curious, even if it's not something necessarily you're gonna like commit to 100%, it might just be something you want to experiment with, and you should do that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's the part of like, if it's anything that comes up after you're divorcing that you're intrigued about, try it. Like life is just too short, as we all know, but like, who cares what everybody says? You know, if you want to go on a date with a woman, go on a date with a woman. If you want to go on a date with two dudes, do that too. Like, to me, just try it, because your happiness is what's most important and not what everybody else is talking about you anyways. Like, you might as well just get your rocks off and do what you want to do. Yeah. I just always have like a little asterisk, like just make sure you're safe and not stupid about it. Like it's not 1987 anymore where everybody trusts everybody and everybody leaves their doors open and everybody is who they say they are. I mean, all of this catfishing, and I remember I did do an app. And I ended up going to a restaurant while my kids were in gymnastics, you know, because I was cleaning toilets for be able to afford that. Right. And he took me to this fancy restaurant, which I eat at all the time now. And I just remember thinking this restaurant was so fancy. And he met me there. And I remember sitting down and looking at him and going, you look nothing like your profile picture.
Oh, yeah. That probably happens all the time.
It was just so like,
catfish.
Well, it was so catfish. I mean, he looked, I could tell it was him, but like the picture I saw had hair, and the person I was sitting with,
it was like bald. His college photo.
Yes. And I'm just like, you know, we went through apps and he was like, do you want to order dinner? And I'm like, you know, I'm just going to pass on dinner. And I said, I got to go back to gymnastics where my kids are at. And he was all like, you know, do you want to come see my house? And I'm like, you know, I probably would have, if I would have thought I was meeting who I thought I was meeting. And I just told him, I'm like, you just need to do a fair justice to the other people that you're trying to reach out to. Like, put an accurate picture up.
Yeah, because that is just an immediate deception. Like
it makes me think you're lying about other things. Yeah.
From like,
and he was a great guy.
Like, oh, you're not honest.
That's what I told him. Like, you're good looking like this, but that's not who you look like anymore. Like that's 20 years old, at least. Come on, you know, like, and I don't know. So he was like, I appreciate it, you know, and we finished, you know, appetizer and I left. But that, to me, I got off of apps right after that. Cause I'm just like, I kind of knew the guy. So when I saw him, I'm like, oh, I know that face. Like I've seen that guy around before, blah, blah, blah. So again, trusting, because I have a big, huge safety thing. Cause I had one time when I had gotten divorced, I put myself in a bad spot one time and got myself out of it. But it was a safety issue where I thought I was meeting one person and two people were there. And luckily my like over assertive confidence took over, and I was intimidating enough to where, you know, whatever could have maybe was potentially going to happen did not. But that just like scared the shit out of me. I got in the car and I'm just like, what the fuck are you thinking? You know, like, and I'll be honest, alcohol was always around all the dumb decisions I made, all of them. I would have never done some of the things I'd done after divorce if alcohol wasn't involved. It was always like, I'm going to release, I'm going to have a couple beers. Yeah, sure. You know, and that always just tumbled into stupid decisions.
Right.
Always,
those
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, what was I thinking? And thank God I survived that. And thank God I made it home. And thank God I didn't have that person. And you know, and it was like, when was I going to wake up? You know, and eventually I did, you know, thank goodness. But alcohol was just never really a smart thing. So yeah, hoe phase and alcohol together. There's a good chance you're going to have some safety issues if you're not careful in this generation. So let us know as you're watching this. Has anybody ever put themselves in a harmful situation and got out of it? Thank goodness. Or is anybody in that hoe phase where they're just kind of living it up? And
because I think that's the other thing I want to talk about is I don't think that everyone has to have a certain amount of time necessarily that they stay completely single after a divorce.
Correct.
I think that is just not a one size fits all situation. And when I look back, I learned a lot about myself through dating after divorce because the way I was approaching it was just different. Like, I think when things would come up, like, for example, if I was talking to somebody and then I just didn't hear from them again, like they stopped messaging me. So if that triggered me, I would kind of then self-reflect and be like, okay, what really is this? Is this like my abandonment issues coming up? Is this just an insecurity, like low self-esteem? Like, why do I give a fuck that this guy didn't message me anymore? So almost like through talking and dating other people, I was doing that like shadow work, that inner work to continue to heal myself and build my self-esteem. And also like I was such a people pleaser for so long that was coming up and learning how to just raise my standards and not feel bad about it. Right. Like there was this one guy who wanted to take me on a date to Applebee's with a coupon that he had gotten from a car wash.
Why would he even tell you that?
Part of me was like feels bad. Well, like I want to like make excuses and like say, well, like I don't want to judge and I don't want to, but then that other part of me was creeping up that was like, yeah, but I want more than that. Like I deserve more than that. I don't want somebody to take me to Applebee's with a coupon. I want somebody to like be financially stable enough where if they're asking me on a date, they can take me somewhere nice, you know, or at least better than Applebee's. And I had to really struggle with of not feeling like a bitch for feeling that way. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that can come up too, is really just like figuring out what are your deal breakers, what are your standards, and what is triggering you and why, and where is that coming from? And
I think it's a lot of what you say all the time is you date where you're at. And so if you're starting to realize who you're pulling in is not the clientele you think you want, that's time to self-reflect and be like, okay, what am I putting out and what am I going through that's attracting this kind of level of a person when I really want this level? So maybe, you know, and a lot of people over here on TikTok, as I'm live over here as well, are saying, you know, I'm going to be single the rest of my life. I'm not ever dating again. I'm not. And I think we all go through that phase. And for me, that just screams, you know, you still need to do some work. And that's fine. Like you're not needing somebody right now. That's fine. And that's might not ever. And actually, I think one of the reasons why Jared and I and Leah and David are so good is because we don't need each other.
Right.
You know, we don't need, I want Jared. I don't need Jared. And there's a big difference between those two words. And I think there was a phase where I dated a married guy. I messed around with stupid people. And I agree with you on the dating taught me on what type of person I wanted. I did not want somebody with kids. I tried it. I tried it with multiple, 2 or 3 different guys that had children, and I just didn't like their parenting style. And so that's when I took that stance of like, fuck it, I'll just be single because I'm not going to find somebody in my 40s, late 30s that doesn't have kids, because everybody has kids. So I thought, okay, this is over. I'll just, go out with somebody every once in a while, but I'm never going to be in a relationship again. And then it walks in, Mr. Wonderful, who didn't have any children, and it worked out for me. But yeah, dating people with kids was hard. But thank goodness I tried it, because then I realized that's not what I wanted. Because in my mind, I thought I'll just find somebody that has kids too. So they'll know what I went through. They'll be able to relate. I won't have to be like, oh, my ex-husband, because they'll have an ex-wife, and we'll just work together and we'll tag team this shit, and I tried, and it just, I didn't find the right guy.
For everybody. Some blended families work really well, and it's not for everybody. And I had the same thing. Actually, I had my husband now, who I'm married to, I found him on an app, and I passed him. I swiped him because he had a picture with him and a little boy, and I was like, nope, I don't want to do with kids. And so then I found him later, and he ended up, that was his nephew, and I didn't know. And I'm like, oh, that's why
you might want to put a subtitle on that picture. This is not my child.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. And I think just being honest with yourself, you have to be honest. If that's really how you feel, then that's how you feel. You don't want to settle, because then you're not really going to be happy, or you're going to be stuck in this relationship that really doesn't even feel aligned with who you are or what you really want. And so, but that also just goes to show how those limiting beliefs can creep up, because you were like, oh, this is probably doesn't even exist. I'm old now. No, everyone's going to have baggage. Everyone's going to have kids. And it's just not true. I mean, and same with me, my husband, he was never married. He never had kids. So just so you guys know, you don't have to settle. Like if somebody, if that's really what you want is somebody who maybe doesn't have kids, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not a bad person, and it is possible because they do.
And they're not a bad person because they, you know, they're 30 some and don't have children yet, like, and aren't in a serious relationship. I mean, Jared was just a worker bee. He went to work, he came home, he went to the bar to socialize and see people and eat dinner and be around people because he was single. And then he'd be home and do the same thing the next day, go to it. And he just didn't put himself out there. And he was
wasn't
content.
A priority.
He was content with his friends at the bar. They were everybody he knew. They were, you know, all the bartenders knew him, all the waitresses knew him. Like it was familiar. So he just kept doing it until, you know, I bumped into him at a wedding reception, and the whole world changed after that. But to me, you have to work on yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to stop dating or interacting with people the whole time either. I had a mom the other day named Maria. We were talking, and she's a teacher, and she's like, I went on dates, and she goes, I just felt guilty. And I said, well, then that just means you're not ready yet. She's like, I felt guilty that I was taking time away, you know, from other things that I should be doing for my kids. And she didn't have her kids at the time, but she's like, I should have been home cleaning, or I should have. And I'm like, then you're just not ready.
Right.
Like, and that's okay.
Something that you feel like is going against the grain. It should be something that you kind of want to do, or you're, Right. Because I see people do that too. Like their friends and family are like, you got to get back out there, get back on the horse. Come on. And it's like, whoa, they might not even want that right now. They might not be ready. And then if you're doing it when you're ready, that shit could cause problems too, because then you might end up in relationships that really aren't even good for you because you weren't even ready. You weren't healed, or you didn't know what you were looking for or really what you wanted. And then you wind up settling and then realizing later. And so it is important to know that it's the right time for you too. And that could be at any time. Some people are ready as soon as that ink dries on their paper. And some people take 5 years, 10 years before they even want to consider being in a relationship again. Like there is no formula for that. That really is a very unique thing based on your individual experience and thoughts and feelings and all of that stuff.
Yeah. I just wish more people would date different people. Like I feel if I look back, as soon as I got done with my marriage, I started dating people that were very similar traits.
Okay.
You know, like it was, I went right into a narcissist again. Like, I mean, didn't even skip a beat, you know, and picked another one. And then I picked another one after that. And then I dated a really nice guy with kids. But it just too nice, you know, but it was like, I think you have to date multiple people to kind of figure out, wow, you know, like I would have never pictured. I would have never, you know, the old me would have never pictured, you know, he's too passive. He's too laid back. He, you know, he was just so simple, you know, and I thought I needed this like, you know, over the top mouthy, that's me.
Right.
I needed the opposite.
You're on a subconscious level. That's what it is. You're going to what's familiar. So if you were in these like toxic relationships, or you maybe even if you grew up in a toxic environment, subconsciously you find comfort in finding familiar environments, even if they're toxic. It's just like you're used to that. And so it's breaking those patterns and those cycles and realizing, oh, a relationship can be easy, and that doesn't make it boring. That makes it like it's okay to not be like wound up and like screaming and fighting at each other all the time, or like worried that they're going to cheat on you, or like lying to you. And like, you know, you almost have to like train yourself to be okay with not having so much drama.
Yeah. Did you ever have a friend hook you up? Because like that made me think of, if you don't know yourself well enough to know what kind of person you probably should be dating, would you trust a friend to hook you up and say, oh my gosh, Leah, you would be so perfect with so-and-so?
Yeah. I would try it. I actually at one point had my therapist wanted to hook me up with her nephew. Oh, here's Alex. Hi, Alex. Yeah, no, I think I would. It'd be worth a try. I mean, who knows if it would go anywhere, but I would be open to at least meeting the person and seeing if there's anything there.
I don't know. Like, I think if it was just like a mutual friend, but if it was like a family member or something, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to ruin our friendship with me dating somebody else. That would be awkward and weird. But yeah, I think sometimes though, you have such blinders for what kind of person would be a good fit for you. Like I said, I would have never thought that Jared would be a fit for me. Just
right. And sometimes that comes from just dating, like you said, like just like dating people and then almost like keeping a list of, well, I don't like that. And then that's not going to work for me. And I need this in a person and I want this person to be this way. Like, David had dated someone who just was not at all like physical, like didn't like to like hold hands or be close to each other on the couch or whatever. And he's just like, even though it seems like such a small thing, that just wasn't going to work for me. Cause like one of my love languages is like physical touch.
Yes.
Like I need someone to want to like hold my hand and cuddle and stuff. And so you learn through dating the wrong people sometimes, like what is important to you or what you don't care about. Or
that reminds me, Jared dated somebody early, like before me, for a long time, but they thought differently politically.
Oh,
like, extremely different on politics. And I'm like,
that could be huge.
How would you ever? He goes, oh, we used to just go rounds. And I'm like,
because now that means you guys have conflicting like core values, essentially. Like how you view the world is very, very different.
Yeah. And Jared and I have a couple different views, on Earth and Moon and like but it's in good fun. Like we both agree. I'm never going to change your mind. You're never going to change my mind. We can agree to disagree. And I'm okay with him thinking differently but like politics or religion, or certain rights. I don't know how you would ever share an income with someone or a household or bear children, because then it comes down to, what are you going to teach your children? I had a client yesterday who, they're the same religion, but they want to practice in different temples. Like her temple has one type of leadership and dad's temple has a different type of leadership. And I'm like, how are we ever married when, you know what I mean? Like, how, first off, what temple did you get married in? But how, and I think in knowing this woman now, she just let him lead in the marriage. And now she's like, no, I want to go to my temple and I want to take the child to my temple, and she's like, do I have the right to do that? I'm like, hell yeah, sister, take them to your temple. You can do that. But it's that whole, you got to really be okay with not settling when you pick somebody. If something's making the hair in the back of your neck stand up, like, oh, this really agitates me, the way they, put their teeth on their fork. Guess what? That shit won't change. You better.
It's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. And that's really true. I think that's why it's so important to get to that place where you're okay with being alone, even if you don't want to. Like I love being in love. I love being in relationships. I knew that that's what I wanted, but I wasn't going to settle just to have that. But it took me 2 divorces to get there. I mean, I settled twice and then I was like, okay, this formula isn't working. Like I need to really raise my standards and be okay with maybe not finding the person that I feel, right? Like I'm not going to settle anymore. I'm not going to do this again. And I need to just know what I want and keep saying no until I find it and be okay with that. And that was like the biggest shift for me.
I think we should do a series on, or at least a podcast on intuition. Because I've been reading about intuition more and more. It's in the book that I'm reading right now. And just having, like, if I look back on all the bad decisions I've ever made, my intuition told me not to do it, but my dumbass said do it, and I just feel like how to tap into that more and how to trust that. Like my intuition yesterday was like, something is off. Like, I don't know what it is, but something is off. And then I found like this huge mistake in my business, like a button didn't work. And I'm like, something was telling me this whole time that there's a reason why something's not working. It's not you. There's a reason why. And I just wish more women and men would tap into that when they're on a date and like, this guy's cute. This guy's nice, but he said that one thing that like, oh, guess what? That one thing's going to agitate the shit out of you over and over again. Like just wait and date somebody that your intuition tells you good, or it's all hitting the mark. But getting yourself right and knowing what you want. You and I talk a lot about being that chameleon. When we started dating people, we're like, oh, you're into Harleys? Me too. Now I'm going to have a jacket, next week, and jumping on the bandwagon of whoever we're dating instead. Like, no, I'm not into that, but I'm into this, I'm into this. And like,
that comes from like having a strong, like self-identity and just knowing who you are and being okay with not liking the same thing sometimes. And, and that if that's a problem for the other person, then that's a problem for them and that person's not for you.
Right. But having common interests is good too. It's like a mixed bag. I mean, Jared and I have common interests, and we have, like, I golf. He does not. He sucks. And that's fine. He's never going to be good. And I honestly don't want him to go with me. I want my own thing. He likes to shoot guns. And while I used to like that, I'm just, and maybe this sounds weird, but I used to shoot guns all the time, grew up with guns where I live. Hunting is the thing, and carrying a gun is normal where I'm from. But when he came into the picture, I didn't want to carry anymore. Like, I wanted him to be the protector, because I'd been the protector of my kids for 10 years on my own,
Yeah.
And so, like, having that's his thing. He loves to go shoot. I love to go golf, but we both love to scuba dive. Like, we have something that we both love to do, but we also have things we both love to do independently. And in other relationships, I would have never been like, I'm going to go do this by myself.
Yeah.
Everything had to be like together.
Or I've dated people who, if you weren't into what they were into, then you were a problem. Like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, why don't you like these things? What are you, an idiot? Like, it became this thing of like, I was made to feel guilty or less than because I wasn't interested in the same kind of shit that they were interested in.
Yeah. And I just have no interest in some of the things he's into. Like, he's into gaming on his phone. I'm like, that's a no for me. I mean, now I'll spend hours scrolling on TikTok. He'll spend hours, playing a game, and that's his thing. And this is my thing. And like, anybody that makes you feel bad for what you're doing, probably not the best shoe to be wearing. But the hoe phase, as we recap, is normal as long as you're being safe about it. And I hate the double standard that men can go on all these dates and it's just like, oh, he's playing the field. But then when women do it, it's the hoe phase. And it's like, we're just playing the field too. I would highly recommend just date multiple people until you figure out what type of person it is that you need to be looking for your life, because you're finding somebody for you, but also for your children. And I think that's the hardest part. So if you're just in the hoe phase, you're just doing it for yourself. You're not trying to match up with Mr. Wonderful that you're going to bring home and play stepdad. You're just trying to find something to make you happy and distracted for a little bit in the hoe phase. It's all about the distraction, from the divorce or the custody battle or not being able to pay your bills.
Something, because it's been so long, and so that's okay.
Yeah. If you think about that, a lot of you are ending marriages and you hadn't slept with your spouse for the past year or the past 6 months. And then, you go through this phase where you don't date anybody. And then you're like, okay, well, now it's been a year since you've had sex. You deserve a hoe phase for a little bit, go test the waters and get it done. So we're going to have to come up with a catchy title for this one, because this one might get blocked for the title. People over here in TikTok, Leah, want to know where I got my sweatshirt, and I'm going to ask her because she's the one that got it for me for my birthday.
I got that for her birthday on Etsy, actually. Yeah, Etsy. It says "Don't fuck with my energy." I thought it was perfect for her
on Etsy. It's been a popular question over here the whole time of where did you get your shirt? So go over to Etsy and type this in, and I'm sure it'll pop up. All right, you guys. Until next time.
I don't want somebody to take me to Applebee's with a coupon.
Be safe out there on the dating world. Okay. Nobody be catfishing. All right. Or fall for it.